everybody. It's Becky Pearson with Pivot Point of View, and today I am joined with some very special guests, Drew and Cristi Gaffney. They have been longtime friends, great supporters of me and Pivot Point, and they have also been very involved in the horse industry for many, many years. Cristi and Drew both, I think, went through the Nebraska High School Rodeo Association. Cristi was a rodeo queen back in the day, I believe. And she is a speech therapist, a barrel racer. She owns and breeds very nice horses. And together they are producers of the Cornhusker Futurity. And so that's why I wanted to visit with them. They've had a large impact on the equine industry, especially here in Nebraska. So thank you guys for joining me today.
You're welcome.
All right, well, let's get a little background on the two of you. Where did you guys get your start in horses? And we'll go from there.
I think I was always kind of like the horse crazy little kid. I had a pony, um, and rode the pony and that kind of thing. And then I did 4-H and high school rodeo and college rodeo and just kind of kept on going from there. And then probably, I don't know, 25-ish years ago, got some mares, got a mare. My mom had several. I had one, and then ra- started raising a few horses. I got the first mare. Brian Fulton had just bought a streak of fling, and he kept telling me that I needed to breed to a streak of fling, and I didn't really have a mare, so I bought a mare so I could breed to a streak of fling.
I tell you, my background, just growing up, I was always kind of fascinated with those older ranch cowboys in the sandhills around Dunning and Anselmo, and always kind of hung out with them and run around with them and stuff. And I never, we always had horses growing up, but my dad wasn't much of a cowboy or horse guy. In fact, he doesn't really like cowboys, but he I was always fascinated with that industry and always liked a really, really nice ranch horse and a horse that was very versatile on the ranch. And probably where I got my real passion for it when I went to college. I met Joe Beck, who was a professor, and her dad had a lot of really nice horses down in the Flint Hills of Kansas. And I started riding colts for him and her, and she showed me a lot. And then, after college, I become really good friends with the infamous Punch Howard, and I don't know if everybody knows him, but he's one of the best pickup men there was, and he kind of got me really hooked on it, and just kind of went from there. And then when Chris and I got married, her mom was pretty passionate about raising some colts, and we just come to the conclusion if we were going to do it, we were going to go all in and do it right, and so that's kind of where we got to with the program.
Okay. Well, and so mostly you bred a lot of streak of fling horses, right? I mean, yeah, you bred them for quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing that we always kind of felt like the streak of flings were a very versatile horse, especially if you put them behind some cowbred mares or some successful mares. It seemed like you could go to the rope and pin or you could go to the barrel pin. And our biggest deal, too, was, good ranch versatility horses. I mean, he was just a versatile stud.
Well, and a lot, typical barrel horses, you probably couldn't just go out and ride on the ranch and do a day's work, but the streak of flings are usually, tough enough and well-minded enough that you can do lots of different things on them.
And our biggest theory behind it was too, when we started those colts, we knew they had to have wet saddle blankets, and so our colts always had a lot of miles put on them before they were went anywhere.
Yeah, which makes such a great foundation for them to handle a lot of different things for sure. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about some of those that have came through your program that have really made a name for themselves. I jotted down a few of them, but I know I missed a few. So what would you say like your first big winner was? Because you guys have had quite a few that have went on and done really well in the futurity scene. What would you say was kind of that first one that you're like, yes, we are on the right track with this?
So my mom bought Go-Go Fame at she bought her from Chad Hart. Chad bought her at the Heritage Place and took her home and put her up for sale. And mom bought her. And we owned her until she was 6. I owned her through her futurity year. Sharon Hall ran her some. And then she came home and Ashley Shaper had her. And she won quite a little bit for Ashley. And then the following year, Sharon ended up buying her from us.
Yeah.
And I also think, probably one of the biggest foundations of our breeding program is we come across a mare that was a known daughter of Oklahoma Fuel. And she was bred to a stud that was unheard of, and we didn't give much for the mare, and she didn't look like much when we got her. But I tell you what, she probably produced some of the. I mean, she produced every horse she produced was a winner. And in fact, I got her original colt that she ever had still on the ranch, and everybody rides him, everybody loves him. We roped bulls and shagged bulls with the rodeos on him. I mean, he's just such a versatile horse, but that's been the way with all of her colts.
Yeah, Drew has Dakota. He is dog gentle. And then I had sold off, like, she did raise a lot of colts. We had a couple of famous charmer mares out of her and in a streak of fleeing gilding. And I had sold, we had a really nice flashlight too that we sold. But Lindsay Leverington bought the mare Famous, and she was the famous charmer mare. And she had done okay at the futurity. She wasn't a futurity standout. She was much better in her Derby year, and then really won a lot for Lindsay at the rodeos. And she got hurt. So I bought her back from Lindsay, and Lindsay bought another one, actually traded her back to me, and bought a different one that was out of a Dash to Fame that she did well with also. She did well with Shy Fling. And then, so we have VC Famous and Charming back now, and she's had 2 colts. She had 2 Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. And the filly I sold right off when I weaned it. Lindsay Leverington bought it. And then we have the year-old gelding out of her. And she went open a year. We were really trying for a French Streak to Vegas. So she's carrying a French Streak to Vegas now. So hopefully we'll get that. And then Buns had done well at futurities. Sam Flannery ran him, and Lindsay bought him and ran him for quite a while and did well with him. Sold him to a college girl last year, and then we ended up getting Buns back. And then he's that guy that always hurts himself, so I haven't had him back. As you know, he tried to cut his foot off. He's getting better. Maybe next year Buns will be out and about again, but Buns gets to stay here and live out his life because he's like his brother. He's gentle. Anybody can ride him. Like our little neighbor girls have been coming over and riding. And I thought, when Miss Jones is crippled, they can just ride Buns because he's fine and he's gentle and will do whatever they ask him to do. So that mare, the Oklahoma Fuel mare, Okie, we had to put her down probably 5 years ago. Oh. She was pretty old and we took really good care of her, but she had some issues with her hind end when we bought her. And so we got, I think, 7 colts out of her. And like I said, we have the daughter back. So we're happy to have her back at our house.
And probably a mare that's one of our hidden gems is a mare we call Lois, that come from Lois Beal up in Valentine. And that mare hated the barrels, but we took her to the Ranch Rodeo Pen, and she won several top horse awards, and got me a couple top hand buckles and stuff off of her. And but she's produced some really outstanding colts, and just like I said, super versatile. We've got one right now that is a 3-year-old.
That's her oldest. Her oldest is 3.
Right. And she's out of Streaking Boondocks. And I tell you what, just showing so much great potential in both the barrel and the roping pen. And then she's got a baby right now that we're just getting ready to wean. And that's out of a Irish Pay. And boy, he's sure classy and really ex-athletic. I'm pretty excited to see what she's going to produce. And then we got that mare bred back to Irish Pay right now, so next year she'll have another Irish Pay baby.
Nice.
And then I bought a horse at a horse sale accidentally that won quite a little bit. I went to bid on a horse for Lisa Mildanovich that I did not get bought for her, and was standing in the back with Danny Ray, which probably not a good choice. And he was like, go ahead and just hit him one time. So I bid a couple times, and I bought a Street Gypsy. That was an Estrika Fling mare out of the Hip Swinging Gypsy. And I sold her as a 3-year-old, and then Pete Owen went on to win quite a bit on her. And that was when I didn't even make it out of the Lazy Eda, called Drew to tell him before somebody on the World Wide Web had called him to tell him that his wife bought a horse. So, but she redeemed herself, and so he wasn't quite as upset about that. But I try to refrain from buying horses without telling him. So, and then my mom had Jessica Leach has a nice horse now that was out of a mare that mom had that we sold a couple years ago. The VC Rock the Clock is a GL Sirocco out of that mare that we called Babe. And Babe was a racehorse. She was a AAA daughter of Special Leader. And so and then Babe had another horse that some people in South Dakota have too, Shed a Firewater Finale, that their kids really do well with that horse. And then my little mare Freddie, that came, I bought her from Adele Hansen, who's from Canada, and I ran Fred for a while. And then Fred has had 3 colts. One of them we sold. He was really good. He was more of a team roping horse. And then Debbie Pate has one, the GL Sirocco, Plainly I Rock. And then I kept the filly, and she will go to the BFA this year. This will be her first outing. So she'll have a Futurity year next year, and she's in a Estrika Fling. And Fred's breeding is nothing you've really heard of. She was just a good horse herself. So she passed that on to her colts. And Rika, the one that Jody Miller is riding right now, she looks like Freddie. She runs like Freddie. She acts like Freddie. It's interesting because she had a recip for a mom. She was an embryo, but she acts, the genetic part of it is so interesting. She acts just like her mom and looks like her mom.
I think another thing that we have is we didn't raise them, but we purchased them when they're pretty young. Was a couple of French Streak to Vegas fillies, and they've both been really successful. And you know, the one that we've got now, we got pretty high hopes for her. I think she's gonna really do big things.
And we had one. I bought one 2 years ago that Jody Miller ran at the Derbies, and we did pull an embryo. It's on the ground now. It's a baby. It's an Ain't Seen Nothing Yet out of $1 Million Streaker. And last we sold $1 Million Streaker to Elise Busby, who has done well with her. So that was a good fit.
When you guys are looking to cross one of your mares, do you look to improve upon that mare? How do you decide how to cross them? Like what, I mean, I know what my take is, but what do you guys look? Do you talk about it together? Do you kind of sit down and really plan it out, or how does that all go? What does that look like?
I'm going to be honest with you. Our opinions vary on that. If you can, but one of the things that I found interesting, and I've learned so much in the last 5 to 10 years, but the biggest thing was just talking to and studying with the guys that know. Like Brian Fulton, the guy wouldn't tell you anything unless you asked the questions. That's just Brian's personality. But if you asked the questions, he would sure give you an honest answer. And he sure helped us out with kind of selecting and making some of those decisions. Another guy that I really look up to, and he's kind of a mentor of mine in the horse breeding world, is Danny Ray. You know, I can call Danny anytime and ask him questions, and you know, he'll tell me about some stud or some mare, and we'll think, well, what the hell? You never heard of that. And then, you know, 2 years later, it explodes. And then another guy that I like to get a lot of insight from and just ask him because he knows and he rides them and he sees a lot of them, and that's Phil Hogan. Phil he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to those crosses and stuff, just from his knowledge of starting those colts and how they handle, how they ride.
I'm really big on disposition. Like I look at how our mare's disposition is, but I also want to know what the stud's disposition is. And I like to visit with Phil also because he has started so many colts. There are some of them he's like, ooh, I haven't started one of those that didn't really try to buck, or, those kinds of things. And I'm at the age where I don't want one that's going to play that game. That's not. So I do that, listen to that. And sometimes if I'm just really wondering, like, I raised Go-Go Fame's first colt, Go-Go Fling, and I got the opportunity to pull an embryo out of that. And I was really struggling. I kind of knew what I wanted, and I had a couple studs in my mind. And I asked David James because David stood a streak of fling for a long time. He has done every discipline of this, and he really has an absolute wealth of knowledge. So why I called him and asked him what would you braid to, and so ended up going, and his choice was one of mine. So hopefully I will get. We've tried twice and we lost one last year in January. So hopefully this year I have one in a recip, Go-Go Fling and the Candyman. So I'm hoping that cross will come through, but the Trace Sace was what I was looking for to cross on her. So we'll see. Fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been in the breeding game for quite a while. And when did you guys decide to buy the Cornhusker or to take the Cornhusker over, and how did that decision come as a couple?
Couple.
So I had helped Marlene off and on when Marlene McGahey had it. Like ahead of time. I didn't really ever help her at the event, but I'd helped her with things ahead of time. And I think in 2017, maybe, she and I were talking one day, and I said, well, if you ever want to retire from it or something, I'd be interested. And so then in 2019, she called and like she wanted to sell it that day, like right then, like she wanted to get. So we kind of had to make a quick decision. She really wanted to do something quickly. So
somebody made a quick decision and then told their husband later, I think.
No, I did call you and ask you. I know I did. So, but honestly, I don't think we totally realized what we were getting into, because like we had put on like small jackpots in Broken Bow, but not like a huge race. So that first year was like, and the first year we did it with COVID. So there weren't people there as there are now. And thankfully, I think that was probably a blessing on our end, because I felt like we were overwhelmed by it with the size that it was the first year. So it was definitely something you learn as you go. But
then I think, we kind of had a curveball, part of the reason we did it is because we had it at the Custer County Fairgrounds in Broken Bow. That was in our backyard, and a great facility and great location. But part of the problem was they got a new fair board. They have some different ideas, and I'm not going to bash on anybody or them, but it just didn't work out. So we ended up moving it to McCook, and I can't say enough about the facility of McCook and about the management down there. I know Giles, gosh, he does a great job, and we don't have to worry about anything. He has it ready, but I have to give it to Cristi. She knows that good grounds break records, and she found a ground crew out of Iowa, and those guys just do a phenomenal job, and they're really particular about the ground, and I think that's really helped us too.
Yeah, I think the first or second year we were in Broken Bow, we knew we needed somebody to do the ground. So I was kind of calling other producers. And Lindy Johnson, who's from Iowa, she does a bunch of series over there. She doesn't do one on Labor Day. So the guys that do her ground, Clint, Smith and Trent Yoakumson were available. So they came, and they have been coming every year, and they are excellent. I don't think I wouldn't try to do it without them. You know, they do a good job. That's one thing I don't have to worry about. Like, they handle the ground, they do it. I don't have to worry about that. So that's very helpful. And just during the event, you know, during the year, I pretty much do all the advertising and all that stuff. Michelle Batista does our website, which she's really good. I just tell her what we need and she takes care of it. So I think having a good team of people like her with our website, it's always up to date and it looks good. And she does the advertising, and I give her like an idea of what I want and she comes up with it. And then just the people that help us at our event, we couldn't do it without them. And
I think you'd have to tip your hat to Heather Reinhardt.
Yeah, Heather is.
She's kind of been she's become our adopted daughter. She spends a lot of time up there.
So, yeah, definitely. You know, Heather, like, getting ready is definitely helps me the week, well, probably the month before we start working on stuff. And I think I switched to Next Gen Rodeo last year, just because it's hard to find somebody that'll do a webcast. That was something we had been trying to find, and it was hard, and it's also very expensive. And using Next Gen, there's a cost to it, but that is a part of it. They provide your webcast. And so that, I think, has really helped us and been beneficial. You know, people that maybe have a horse in training can get on and watch, and it's allowed us to be able to get the, you know, like the American Contender and some of those things that a webcast is a requirement for.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, so yeah, you guys always have or for the past, how many years has it been an American Contender? 3, 4, or the
2.
whole time?
I think just 2 years.
Okay.
We've been, I had asked for it and hadn't had it. And then last year kind of was it was kind of mid-July when BBR reached out. And then this year, we knew they usually make those decisions around July 1st. So we knew July 1st this year. And then this year got the extra, which is like a little added money side pot that BBR does. They call it the extra tour. And we got that this year too. We'd had the extra for several years. Last year we got the American only. And then this year they gave us the American and the extra, which we appreciated. And I don't, you know, I had asked for it, but I was surprised that we ended up getting both. So, and then the incentives like the Future Fortunes and Select Stallion Stakes have been with us from the beginning. And those you just apply for every year. And I know there are certain criteria. You have to have a certain number, like the Future Fortunes, you have to have a certain number of entries the previous year to continue with them. So we have to keep that up. And Select Stallions is kind of the same. They look at your entries. And then the Diamond Classic, which is a newer incentive, we applied for that and got that. And last 23, and then again this year in 24. And they told me to keep the banner, so that must mean we're getting it for 25, because I asked if I could keep it back, and they said no, you can keep it for next year. So
okay, good. Talking about the ground, you know, that I was visiting with somebody about your guys' event, and I think something came up about the caliber of horses that come to it. And I said, just to give you an example, every time there's a Cornhusker, there's a new arena record that is ran. And I mean, it's kind of been that way, honestly. Even back when it was in Broken Bow, there was always a new arena record. And so it was kind of fun to keep up with that. You definitely draw a lot of great horses, and then, yeah, the testament to having good ground, because you can't break arena records without good ground. So, yeah.
And it took, I think the arena record is a little to do with the ground. And I also changed the setup. For years, you rode down the alley, you turned and you went, and then when you ran back, you know, you kind of ran to the fence to stop. And I just always thought that took a super long time to ride down that alley and come up. And I always felt like, looking at it, that there was enough arena sitting there that you could do a holding pen and you could just run in, run out. And when we moved it to McCook, I had been getting so many pre-entries that I knew we needed to be able to go faster than it is when you come down that alley. So I had went and talked to Giles about it. And at first I know he thought I was crazy. He was like, I don't know. And I was like, you won't, I swear you won't move the eyes or the markers or anything. It's just going to look different. And so I think in 2023, when we did it that way, at first people were like, you changed the setup. But I think everybody liked that change. And I think that part of that allowed for the arena record too, because I think you could get a little faster start than when you come down the alley like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's much safer. That's the thing. Like my horse does not want to stop very good. And so the old setup just scared me to death.
Yeah.
This way you have a little more space to be able to get things.
Definitely. The old setup made me anxious as well, because I had seen people's horses that had tried to duck around that little side gate and go either way down that little alley. And even if you had the side gate shut, they were still kind of looking for it. So
yep. And sometimes they would fall and or hook your foot on a panel. I mean, there were a lot of injuries there. So and now pretty much there's not a barrel race ran there that isn't set up the way that you have it. So it's kudos to you for thinking out of the box there. So
thank you.
Okay, so putting on a huge event like that, this is, I see you guys there, and there are moments of stress for sure. And being a married couple together does provide for some interesting moments. So for other couples that are maybe thinking of putting on an event together, what advice do you guys have for other couples or even just in life? Like you guys, I mean, I know you have your moments. Everybody has their moments in their marriage, but like you guys support each other. And this is both marriage 2.0 for both of you, right? So like what things did you learn from your first marriage that you brought or left and made sure you didn't bring to the second marriage? And just like working together, because you really both seem like this is a common goal for both of you, to raise and train nice horses and have them be successful in the arena. We know it is not cheap. And so, like, how do you guys manage that without killing each other?
I keep my head down and just do what I'm told.
I think like at the event, I think we each have, like, I do like all the office stuff and Drew does the stalls and the shavings and all of that piece. And we really I just trust that he's going to handle it. And I try not to micromanage. I know sometimes I do. Like I'll text him, did you, whatever, XYZ. And he always has. So it's just, I think part of it is trust. Like I know if I ask him to handle the stalls and the shavings, I don't have to worry about it because he will do his part. And I think he knows, like, if he asks me to handle the office, that I'm going to do my part. So, and I think it's the same with the horses. Like when we have a young horse and we're making a plan for it, like if I want him to ride it and move cattle and do all that kind of stuff, or ride it during calving, like I know he'll do that and I don't really worry about it.
And that's, like on the like she just said, we got 2 sets of pins on this ranch. And if you're in the A pins, you're a good boy. If you're in the B pins, your life's going to be hell.
And sometimes mine, when they're not, they're not being good team members, they have to go live in Drew's pen for a while. And then they appreciate that my side, my side.
Cristi gives treats and pets. And my guess is, Drew, you don't give too many treats.
No treats, no pets, and there's been a time or two they've learned patience in front of the bar
or the barn, either one. Yeah. And in my pens, like we have blankets and fly boots and nice things. And Drew's pens, they do not have those. Those are luxuries that you earn.
Well, and I think it is so important, like, because for me, I don't have the option to go send them off. I mean, I do, but I have to find somebody that I trust to ride a horse on a ranch. And I have huge trust issues for that reason, because I've sent horses off to be ranched off of, and they do come back just looking terrible, or it's, and I understand I'm not sending them there to get show fit. I'm sending them there for the experience, and I'm sending them to so that they do kind of learn what a hard day's work is. But it is, I think it's great that you guys, Cristi, you can kind of still keep an eye on them, like, if you think they're developing an ulcer or you think something's going on, you and Drew probably talk about that. So I really, kudos to you guys for having to be able to do that for those horses.
And I think, that's one thing we maybe sometimes take it for granted, but is a real huge advantage for our breeding program is, so we're on a big sandhills ranch, and we can take them out and do a 2-section pasture and ride big hills, soft hills, take them across the creek, ride them through water holes, just do a lot of things that, for the physicality of the horse, it changes their mindset. It can change your physical structure. There's a lot of things you can do on the ranch that you couldn't really do just in an acreage setting or something like that. And then, like you said, there's some days that she has a horse that just he needs to go trail some cows or do something, and she can let us tack it up and take it to the hills. But then at night it gets back and gets its cookies and gets its fly sheets and everything else. It's like I told her, Custer said that right before he went to battle. Little bighorn. We got a big day tomorrow, boys. Make sure you blanket those horses.
I hear that one a lot.
Well, you know what Phil Haugen said about Cristi? She said there's a special set of wings in heaven for Cristi for putting up with you, Drew.
Well, and I think that is another piece too. Like over the years, we've been lucky, and some of it we've learned the hard way, and some of it we have just looked into, like colt starters. Like we've had good colt starters. Sent colts off to somebody like Phil or, Bo Brown and Matt. Those guys are great colt starters, and Trey Sheets have ridden colts for us, and we know that they would do a good job. And if something was wrong or something was going south, they would be like, hey, something's up, that kind of thing. And also the kind of guy, like I sent a Dash to Fame mare to Trey Sheets one time, and he had her a couple days, and he called me and he said, hey, I like this paint mare. Like I get her goals. She wants to buck me off. Like I'm okay with that. This Dash to Fame mare, I don't know. She tried to strike me and kill me and then jump over me and jump out of the round pen. And he goes like, I really don't want to play her game. I don't love her. And I was like, okay, do you want me to come get her? And he's like, well, if you don't mind. And so, I went and got her, and she was the first horse we ever took to Phil, because she was super gentle on the ground. And it was funny because I took her to Trey and I was like, she is really gentle, Trey. She's not like that paint mare. And he was like, great, because boy, that paint mare, she'll try to buck you up. Well, the bay mare, like instantly he's like, so she's gentle, you can catch her and pet her. And then when you put the saddle on, holy, she no longer wants to play your game. And I was like, oh. So, and then I think you kind of have to know that a little bit about him too. Like now we know some more about the colts out of that particular mare, and we're like, those probably need to have some special things done with them, even more than what we did messing with them and trying to pick it up and all those kinds of things. So, it's a learning process, that's for sure. And we've also kind of decided there are certain horses that maybe don't fit in at our place real well.
And one thing that we've found out, or even in the last 10, 15 years, so, we started a lot of our own colts, and then with me getting older and stuff, we do send them all off to get at least the first 30 days. But we found it so crucial when they go to the colt starter, when they come home, they get a little bit of a break, but then we go right back out and start doing light ranch work on them, trailing cows, just riding windmills, things like that, to keep those colts in a nice mindset and keep a good handle on them instead of just saying, okay, well, they've had 60 days on them, they're going to go right to the barrel pin or the rope pin or that, So that's really helped our program too. That way.
Yeah. And I do kind of have like a rule about it doesn't matter what it is. It like Go Fame. We rode her on the ranch. Was it enjoyable? No. Did she like it? No. Did Drew have a lot of fun with that? Nope.
Took a lot of penalties.
Did she shy at every calf he rode her by during calving? Yep. He had that experience. And so that is one thing, like the one Jody Miller has now, like that mare, we rode her during, like, I wanted her to know, like, there's work where you get saddled and you get rode all day. And
I like the Dash to Fames. I mean, probably some of the most athletic horses you're ever going to find. I mean, he'll go down history as being a great stud, but probably the guy that taught us how to handle them and how to teach them and stuff was, Rod Gracie. He, first few Dash of Fames he rode, he'd tell you, you got to do this, you got to do that, you can't put pressure on. So, Rod's a great hand and learned a lot from him.
Yeah. And so handy, and you learn a lot from watching him. It's really pretty neat to watch some of those good horsemen for sure. Now, how do you guys decide who you're gonna send? Because you use a few different futurity trainers. How do you decide who you're gonna send what to? Kind of personality. You think certain horses will get along better with certain trainers, and
yeah, I think so. And certain trainers, I feel like the experienced trainers will tell you, I really get along with this breed and this breed and this breed. That breed is not my thing. So and that's what I think we do. Certain people get along really well with like the JL Sirocco's or whatever. And other people get along better with the Astruca Flings. So that's kind of what we base it on.
You asked the question earlier, and we didn't really get around to it, but how do you make the teamwork, dream work team? Her and I've been through a lot and had a lot of, personal struggles and stuff, and, had a real rough last 3 or 4 years with everything that was going on with the ranch and wildfires, everything like that. But I think the biggest thing is you got to support each other's dreams and, go that route. She's got her barrel horses and she's passionate about that. And I'm passionate about my black baldy cows. And there's sometimes that she's not passionate about my black baldy cows and I'm not passionate about her barrel horses. But you got to come to a happy medium and you got to be supportive of it.
Yeah. Amen. How did you two, like you two knew each other probably way before you started dating? Like, how did that all come about? Because, like, honestly, like dating scares the living crap out of me. Like, how do you go from, being divorced and then thinking it is okay to date again? Because I think everybody looks like a predator out there right now.
Well, she was older than me, and when she was Miss Rodeo Nebraska, I was in junior high and I had a picture.
No.
All right, we'll skip that story.
Even when we were single, Drew would ask me how to lie, and I would tell him that I had a rule I didn't date people under 30. And then he turned 30, so
I call her up at midnight and said I'm 30. She goes, I got a new rule. I don't date anybody until they're 32. I think I bid her a good day.
So, but then like we would just run into each other and talk to each other. And one of the things, like, so the gray mare Lois, I've had Lois since she was a weanling, and Lois Beal had consigned some horses to a sale in, I think it was in Ogallala, and didn't get them all sold. So on her way home, it happened to be close to my birthday. So she stopped at my house and dropped off this mare Lois. And Drew had a sibling to Lois that was like a couple years younger. So we kind of talked about, kind of visiting about those two horses. And then I had to go somewhere to a barrel race, and I had one that had been hurt and he still needed to be doctored. And my parents were going to be gone. So it was, somebody to doctor my horse. So Drew volunteered. So they was kind of getting my good graces. And then I think they baked him a pie or some cookies for taking care of my horse. And I stopped by his house and he wasn't home. And his house was super clean. And I was like, wow. Now, later I found out that his mom cleaned his house twice a week. I know that now. I didn't know that at the time. I was like, that is impressive. He cleans his house.
The true story is she dropped the pie off and I come out of the shower with just a towel on. What happened?
That is not true. But
that's the way I remember. I don't know.
Oh, when did you finally like break down and like, okay, fine, I'll go out with you? Shortly after the pie incident.
yeah. Sometime after that, yes. I was kind of during like the fall of the year, because I think we went to a game or something like that. I think we might have went to.
Yeah, and I think, honest to God, I went down and watched the Nebraska 4D finals. And
oh yeah, you did. I forgot about that. Just showed up at a barrel race.
Oh,
yes.
Some effort forth there.
Like Punch Howard said, if she's got a little fluffy dog and a 4-horse slant trailer, run.
And my friend Hannah, which you probably know, Hannah Birch, he was at the 4D finals. I think that's where Hannah was. But at any rate, he said something to Hannah about, well, I'll see you when we go to that football game. And Hannah said to me, boy, he's optimistic. Because usually I was like, yeah, no, you're not going. But anyway, he made the cut. That's why Hannah's like, wow, he made it to the football game.
So. Oh, well, that's cool. So you guys recently, or within the last year or so, you guys decided to make a change in your health habits. I've noticed I've been seeing less of you guys, meaning that you guys have lost some weight, and you did it together, right? Kind of. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So tell us, like, what made you guys decide you needed to dial in your nutrition and make some changes?
We had been trying to lose weight for a couple, 3 years, but not really just picking out a program, just kind of trying stuff. And like I went to Arizona one winter and I did lose weight, but I only lost weight because it was just me and the dog and I didn't really cook much. So then I gained that back. And so we kind of I was like, we've got to figure out something. And I felt like my problem was just with my job, a lot of times I don't really eat lunch. And Drew's is the same, he's looking at cattle. And so you stop at the gas station and you eat junk food. And somebody had told me about the Optavia program. I can't remember who. And I thought, that sounds like something maybe I could do. It seemed pretty easy. It didn't seem like there was a lot of, like, you didn't have to plan out all these meals. And because I had lost weight on a different program, but it was one you had to like take all these pills and supplements and you had to plan all this stuff. And it was one of those, it was a big commitment, and you can do it for a couple of months, but then I was not committed enough to follow through with all that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this program seemed pretty easy, and I kind of started it. I was hoping he would like see it's not so bad, and
Mhm.
that's kind of what I started doing it. And then he was like, "Oh, that's not so bad. You know, you can they have different foods, and you eat like 5 of their products, and then like 1 meal per day or whatever." Is kind of what we did, and so that was what we did. And I did the Optavia coaching. I would kind of share the coaching with him. He didn't really so much do the coaching part of it. He would watch the videos our coach sent us and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So
I think the biggest thing was, just cutting out processed foods. And at first, it's pretty hard because, you kind of crave some of that stuff. But then after you're off a little while and you go back and say, well, I'll have a bag of potato chips or, a bag of Skittles or something, they just don't taste good.
Yeah.
And then probably my biggest deal is, and you don't realize this, and I mean, this could go down a whole different path, but um, I drank quite a little,
Mhm.
and I kind of reined in my drink, and I still socially drink. Uh,
Mhm.
but I found out once I kind of quit and was not drinking as much and as hard, uh, how much that you might have not necessarily have a problem, but how much that's really playing into everything um,
Mhm.
in your day to day life and everything. And then so yeah, I went from drinking dang near a case of beer every other couple of days to probably like I got 1 or 2 a week or a month.
I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things with the Optavia program, though, for me, they have videos and things, and like if you drink a beer, it tells you how long it takes you to get back into your fat burning mode if you do that, or if you eat ice cream, or it's because I really like junk food like ice cream and sweets, and I was like, oh my gosh, it takes a long time to get that out of your system where you could actually be back to losing weight. No wonder you're not really getting anywhere. You feel like you're spinning your wheels. But I think if you're going to do some sort of a weight loss plan program, it has to be something that fits your life. And I felt like for us, that has fit our life because it's not complicated.
Yeah, I think it's really easy for people that are on the go. It honestly, because I did do it about a year ago. I needed to shed a few pounds, and it was literally probably one of the easiest things that I have ever done. Like, as far as, it doesn't take a lot of forethought and planning, and very easy to have some of those bars and stuff for when you are traveling and on the go and stuff like that. Yeah. So and it's when you follow the program, you do lose the weight. It's a good program for sure. Are you guys at a point where you're like more in maintenance now or Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I kind of got tired of the food. There were still some products that I liked, and I've started doing maybe a little bit more of like the intermittent fasting just to maintain my weight. But yeah, I still have some of the bars and things from the Optavia for convenience. A high protein snack that's pretty easy to keep around.
that's
I
the,
think the
yeah,
one thing that's helped me too is, not to stop her, but you don't realize it when you're eating like supper and meals and stuff with each other and stuff. Just portion control.
Yeah.
You know, it, and it isn't that we're. I think you just get to the point where your body kind of tells you portion control, and that's one thing that I've noticed here in the last 6 8 months. I mean, we just don't eat as much. I mean, you know, like last night, we made a big supper and and 2/3 of it's left over, if not more. You don't need it or crave it or want
Mhm.
it, whatever.
Yeah.
And we do our meal preparation's a lot healthier too. I mean, we just you know, made healthier choices.
Yeah. I think, yeah, when you do something like that, you learn better, better shopping habits. You just don't like, I just am not going to buy simple, like the junk food or the easy to make stuff. Like we don't really need that. So,
well, like, another thing is you got, it's like exercise and you got to be disciplined. I mean, we raise our own beef, so you have a freezer of beef, use it, cook it.
Yep. 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 Discipline is the key with the diet and the exercise. And
with
that's,
horse riding, with horse conditioning, like all of that. A couple
yes.
weeks ago, Mesa Coomer had posted this. It costs $0 to long trot your horse. And the other night I was tired and my allergies were bad. I'm like, you know what? It costs $0 to long trot my horse some more. So
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think a lot of ranchers and families that have performance horses get in this issue when they're ranching. It's a hell of a lot easier to go jump on the side by side and gather a set of cows or something instead of taking the extra 15 minutes to tack one up. And you just got to be disciplined and go catch that colt, tack him up,
Mm-hmm.
go push the cows out of the pasture.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel better for it yourself, mentally and physically. The horse is going to get something out of it. You just got to force yourself to do those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Well, and doing the groundwork before you get on, like for me, okay, now I have a 2-year-old here and I got a 4-year-old here. And so if I did go help somebody, honestly, I'd probably go get on the 10-year-old because I know he wouldn't buck me off. But to do the groundwork before you get on that colt so that, you're going to be as safe as possible. Um, that's the hard part for me is like, I don't know that I'm ready to go take them colts to pasture, which those are the ones that need it. But got to be smart about how you get on them and
yeah,
jip them around and for sure.
yeah, definitely. Well, and Drew and I are at the age now, like I do think about, make good choices. Which one do you want to go out in the pasture with, and which one do you maybe just want to save for something else?
that's
Yep.
one thing. Cristi made the comment a while back when we first got married. My selection of horses was, they were pretty snide, pretty snaky, and that's sure changed in the last 15 years. Yeah, I think the one thing I want to tell people is if you have a nice kitchen, you like to cook, you got to have good cutlery. So look at them, Emma Pearson.
Amen.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, she loves you guys. When I told her we were going to do this, she's like, "Oh my gosh, that'll be so fun." Yeah, this is the crazy thing about her having the Cutco job. The things that she is learning about sales, positive
Mm-hmm.
attitude, investing, money. Like I told her, I'm like, Emma, I have paid thousands of dollars for business consultants to come in to my PT business and teach me the things that you're learning through Cutco. So I'm super proud of her for doing
Yeah,
it. I think it'll
yeah.
be,
What experience? Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
lifelong skills that she's learning.
Mm-hmm.
Cristi hears this all the time, and with social media, it's easy, and I'm not bashing anybody, but you'll get on social media and some mom will put on there, oh my kids raising money for their band trip and they're selling Little Caesars pizzas, and if you'd like one, hit me up. No, uh, you want me to come buy something? You have that kid come knock on my door, and I'll damn sure buy something. But you know,
Yeah.
I've been in sales my whole life, and I think that's something that's really I think this country is going to struggle with is communication, and
Mm-hmm.
you learn how to communicate and read people and figure out how you can convince them and stuff, and that's one skill that you know it, that's learned skill. That's not a taught skill,
Yep.
and people that have that skill and are good at it are successful, and so yeah.
Yeah, all of life is sales, whether you're selling a product or you're selling your business or you're selling yourself in a job interview or you're selling yourself, to clean house to get a to get a peach pie. So yeah, you have to learn how to sell yourself. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Also, you guys are pretty strong, like politically, you're not afraid to voice your opinion on the politics, and I appreciate that, honestly. We need more people um to not be afraid to share their thoughts on social media and to really bring up the things that they think are important, and I do appreciate that about you guys. I always get a chuckle out of the things you
I
share.
think that's one of the things that I think has changed a lot in this country in the last 15 years is, you really can't have a discussion with somebody, a rational discussion, if you have a different view on, an issue.
Mhm.
People are very, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are very hard to talk to and very close-minded about,
Mhm.
whatever their belief is. And,
Well, and I think that's one thing, like, let's just pick, like, picking a president. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. And it doesn't matter whether you like somebody. Like, you don't have to like somebody, but you have to pick the person that's going to get this country down the road. And
Yeah.
that's what's scary about politics is people get so like Cristi said, get so close minded and one tracked. And you know, I don't agree with every Republican, and I don't
Mhm.
agree with every Democrat. Um, but you just that's what scares me about the politics and some of the things in this country is people think they just have to vote down party lines, and that's not true. But you damn sure got to put somebody in there or get behind the people that are going to do you the best job.
Yeah. And I think, don't be afraid to have a civil conversation about it. I had a patient come in the other day, and from different things that he'd said, we were on opposite sides of the politics. But after the presidential debate, I said, "Well, did you watch it?" And he said, "Yes, I did." And he goes, "I kind of like your guy," he said. And so it was nice that we were able to have a good conversation about, he was impressed with JD Vance after the vice president, I can't talk, the VP debate. And it was good to have just a conversation that we weren't just at odds with each other about that, and just really I was very happy that he took a logical look at who the person was instead of just being appalled that he was a Republican and running with Trump. Mhm.
yeah, I think that's just a lot of it, is just that being able to take a step back and look at things logically. I don't know that. And I see that a lot with the younger generation, like our nieces and nephews. Some of them, I remember we had to solve logic puzzles in school and things like that. And I don't see that skill a lot. I think that's a skill that as adults and the lives of young people, we really need to work on, like some of that. How would you think through that or reason through that? I think that's something we all need to help with.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's when I was growing up. There was a little old lady who lived in town, Mrs. Clintworth. We go over to her house to have cookies, and she tells us about when she was a little girl. She had to eat bacon lard sandwiches, and they had to milk the beef cows and stuff just to have milk. They'd rope them and do that stuff. And I thought, oh my God, we could never get back to that. And I tell you what, people, this election doesn't go right this fall. I've learned how to start doing some of that stuff again.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. Like, I think um a lot of the younger people, they don't understand where things come from, whether it's, the stuff that they're getting free, it is not government funded, it is taxpayer funded, the taxes that you pay for those things. And so um they I really hope and pray that they can start to see some of this stuff, because yeah, and that what we can do in our own little world is to educate people that we have an impact on, and you know, hopefully that will spread. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I know you guys are busy. Cristi, you're speech language pathologist. Drew, you are the cow man for Broken Bow Livestock and Burwell Livestock. You guys are very busy. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. You guys are on social media if people want to reach out about the Cornhusker or any good horses or things like that. Any closing thoughts or words?
Thanks for sharing your time with us today.
All right.
And I think I'm just going to say this: it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, your age. Just always follow your dream. You know, follow it through. You don't have to have a 1D horse to go to the barrel races. You know, if you have a 4D horse and you're doing great, you be proud of them and you ride them and just, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to have something in their life that they do because they enjoy it. It's the thing that, you know, makes them happy. It gives you something to work toward and look forward to. I think a lot of people maybe don't have that. And I think we're pretty fortunate that we do.
You know, sometimes I go out and I'm feeding these 12 head of horses that are standing around here, and you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But they bring me a lot of joy. And they've kind of been there through my life when there's nothing else, you know, they've been the steady, the constant. And so yeah, everybody needs to find something in their life that helps them get up in the morning, helps them, you know, the reason you need to go to work to get that paycheck to help pay for whatever it is that you're doing. You need to find your passion and your purpose. And I'm thankful that I've found mine. Sounds like you guys have definitely found yours, and we appreciate everything you do. So, all right. Well, Destry usually says it, but it's up to me. Let your health be the pivot point to your success. And if you like the podcast, please rate us and share the podcast. We really enjoy doing it, and it's something that we hope brings value to you. So, thanks everybody, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Becky.